Hi, you are watching SightsIn Plus, and this is Romesh Shivastu. Please to subscribe the channel for the HR news, for HR updates, and conversation with the top now CHROs, thought leaders, and business heads. Today, we are trying to dive deep what is onto leadership. This is an emerging idea. We will also try to explore that how we can apply this in human resources and how it is going to be, win-win benefit for the organization and employees. We have two entrepreneurs today. Let me welcome Mr. Amarnath Varma. He is a former Executive Director of Human Resources at NTPC, and Yogi Balkrishna. He is a spiritual teacher, author, and founder of Vedant-vidya Sansthan Trust. Yogi ji, I think first I should come to you, and if you can help us to understand that what is the idea of this unto leadership and how it is different from the traditional leadership.
Well, Someshi, first of all, thank you for having us on your prestigious forum. Now, coming to your question, what do you say ontology? Actually, it's a philosophical term. The word ontology is made of two words. It's a composite word which comes from Latin. So one is onto, ont word, the other is logy. So ont means being and logy means science. So when you say ontology, it is a discipline of philosophy which studies the being. So whether it is a being of a person, or it is a being of a tree, or it is a being of a table. So being in totality, how things come to be what they are. But when we talk about lead, it boils down to the humans. So if you compare the ontological leadership with other form of leadership, so generally the other form of leadership are little narrow in their vision. They are generally object driven, profit driven, goal driven, therefore mostly extroverted. While ontological paradigm, a person is not just a goal, profit, or vision driven, which is there and included, but it is beyond. When a leader is source driven, the leadership comes from a very deep root. So when the leadership paradigm, which is source driven, not object driven, then that becomes ontological leadership. And it is definitely, the whole idea comes from ancient Indic philosophy of Vedanta. Like if I can quote a Vedantic verse here, so generally a narrow form of leadership is like a blind leading a blind. Historically, let's look at a leadership of Hitler. Nobody can deny he was a great leader if you, in terms of strategy, planning. But did he bring any good to the world? I doubt. So it's a very narrow frame of leadership which is there. Even if you look at some mafias, they have certain leadership traits. And one can learn, even I can learn those strategies and traits. But fact remains that leadership remains narrow. It is like blind leading a bunch of blinds. So there's a beautiful Upanishadic words which says, Avidyam antare vartamanaha swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha jaganyamanaha pariyanti mudhaha andhe naiva niyamana yathanda. So Vedanta says unless the leadership is enlightened, it is like a blind leading a bunch of other blinds. So when the whole thing is put into perspective, like if you look at Indic philosophy, the ultimate goal of being a human is total freedom. We call it moksha, and that moksha is not when you die, it is when you live. Are you totally free? So when the leadership is source driven, all inclusive, then it is ontological leadership, which is ultimate form of leadership which the Indic philosophy has to offer.
So, if I try to summarize what I understand, is it a little more deep rooted, and you are trying to find out that what you are, and it also makes you the better human being. Is it so?
Yes, exactly it is. Because if the first question is, how self-aware is the leader? And is the leader able to lead oneself? How many leaders are there whom you want to imbibe totally? There are very few. And those leaders are definitely ontological leaders. Not that the world doesn't have ontological leaders, they have, but they're very few and far between. They're less recognized often. So can we make this form of leadership kind of a mainstream thought? That is what Mr. Varma and me have partnered with, and with his lot of experience and my understanding of Indic philosophy, we are in our own little ways trying to expand the idea here.
And Mr. Varma, what would you like to add here?
Yes. What taking on from what Yogi Balkrishna has just now told, uh, ontological leadership is, in simple words, it is enlightened leadership. Uh, what we are talking about on ontological leadership here is knowing more and more about yourself, understanding yourself from within. What are the strengths and weaknesses within me, and how we can improve upon it? So that makes the leader more authentic and more forceful, and he is able to understand his own emotions and emotions of others in a much more better manner. And that is all about leadership. And when he deals with the stakeholders, deals with the business partners, his authenticity about leadership is much more effective and forceful.
So now, coming to another aspect of this leadership, and how Mr. Verma, you think that it is useful when we talk about the human resources. So how do you see its application in human resources?
To my mind and my experience of being in corporate world for over 40 years, I think that the concept of ontological leadership is very, very important, and more and more organizations should adopt ontological leadership approach. That is to say that the value-based leadership practices are to be taken up by the organizations in a more significant manner. And what we are trying to drive here is how to inculcate the concept of values within the employees, so that the workplace becomes empowered, and workplace becomes very enriching, and everybody is starts feeling that he or she is empowered to work there, and that way they can give their best for the organization.
So Yogi, I would like to come to you now, and I would like to understand that what is the role of self-awareness when we talk about the onto leadership, and second, what are the practices, what are the exercises generally we can do to become onto leader?
See, as I said, the crux of ontological leadership is leader being acutely self-aware. So let me give you perspective. Being self-aware means when you see people shake their hands or legs, fidgeting it is called, without being aware that they are doing it. You're sitting and you're shaking your legs. It's not empowering you, rather it's depleting your energy, because some unconscious part is active there, which a person is not even aware. So when you say awareness, it is not just about the body awareness. It is about something very subtle within you, because the body is gross. Within this gross body, there is subtle world of emotions, feelings, thoughts, cognitions, values, and belief. Behind that, again, there is a pure being at a causal level. So when I say, so being aware in totality, because when you become aware of something, that thing that you are aware of becomes object of your cognition. Like if I can see my own thought, my own emotion, then I'm bigger than my thought, bigger than my emotion, because I can see that. So self-awareness is critical for ontological leadership, and it is deepening of the self-awareness which leads one to enlightenment. Now, as you said, what are the practices we can do to become more and more self-aware? So there are so many practices, and India is a very fertile land. There have been thousands of great masters, teachers. We are spoiled for choices. But I will funnel down the whole parameter into two things, basically. So one process is called inquiry-driven. It's called vicharatmak. The other is process-driven, or it is called kriyatmak. So vicharatmak is directly inquiring as to who am I? Why do I suffer? Why does humanity is suffering? Why there is a stress? Are my priorities right? What is the aim of life? So when you question on these things, it becomes direct method or a method of inquiry, or it's called Jnana Marga. Now there is another marg which is process driven. Like if you observe your own mind or anyone observes his own mind, the mind is mostly either in the past or in the future. Very seldom mind is in the present. So how to bring the mind into the present? So therefore, practices of pranayam, practices of asanas, these are very important. Practice of japa to make mind centered so that mind is available and resourceful to observe things within and without. So I would summarize two kinds of practices. One is vicharatmak and other is kriyatmak. So one is called kind of a Gyan Yoga, other is called Kriya Yoga or Karma Yoga. But there are two prerequisites also. That prerequisite is that you have to do your work with a lot of dedication. There has to be a certain sense of surrender. You know, whether you surrender to the God that you believe in or you call it cosmic intelligence. Because with the surrender, the connectedness comes. So that becomes a kind of a prerequisite. So with the prerequisite of sense of surrender, that is Bhakti Yoga is taken care. You have to practice Vichara and you have to do the Kriya or the Karma Yoga. Only then a person can be deeply self-aware.
Right. Mr. Varma, generally as an HR professional, the major role is to, managing with the people and that is the culture of the organization, building the culture of organization. That is, prime role of an HR professional. How do you see it is going to help in culture? Culture, when we are talking that you can also include diversity part, also the inclusion part, also the employee experience, also the engagement part. These are the things. How it is going to help in this?
A very pertinent question, Mr. Srivastav. And to my mind, the organizational culture is the key to success for the organization. And how we can create a better organizational culture is to create a workplace which is very inclusive, where the leaders are empathetic, they are considerate towards the employees' needs, and they are also mindful of the diversity, the inclusiveness that is required for the organization. All these things create a sense of trust and openness. When the leaders are becoming role model by practicing the ontological leadership approaches or the traits, then the entire the leadership team also is feeling empowered and motivated and inspired to work for the organization, work for and the entire environment creates a situation where people feel committed and raring to give their best for the organization. So these situations are required to be created in the organization. And to my mind, the ontological leadership approach is the best way, where openness, trust, empathy, and such values are inculcated in the employees in a large measure, so that the workplace becomes a better place to be there for all the employees.
So, Yogi ji, what I understood about the onto leadership, that is, it is about developing yourself, and it is also about the being better human being or so. But if we dig little deeper, then if I try to understand it more, what are the characteristics of this untrue leadership? And this is the one part that you develop yourself, and the part is that how you develop the other people around you, how you develop the culture of the organization. This is not only for the HR. When we talk about the culture, so culture is everyone's responsibility. Whoever is working in an organization, so everyone's responsibility is the culture. What is your take on this, Yogi?
Because see, when we say, although we are addressing all human beings, but when we say ontological leadership, we are basically addressing a leader. Let me give a very simple thought of great poet Tulsi Das, who's also a spiritual giant. And he says in a very simple two-liner कि मुखिया मुख सो चाहिए खान पान को एक, मुखिया मुख सो चाहिए खान पान को एक और पालई पोसई सकल अंग Tulsi Sahit Vivek. He gives a very simple analogy. A leader should be like a mouth. एक है वही खाता है, but then it nourishes the whole body. So too, it is ontology is a very subtle thought. Everybody is included, but the leader has to get it. So when the leader comes from a source-oriented paradigm, he includes everyone and every person down to the contract labor, the peon, or the design team, or whatever. So there is total inclusion, even material, even the environment. So the whole vision becomes very, very holistic. And he is acutely aware that this is the culture which sustains an organization, which helps an organization to thrive. So basically, the whole paradigm is addressed to the leadership position, inspiring other people also to come to that level.
So true. Mr. Varma, would you like to suggest some of the organizations, those who are practicing the untrue leadership in the HR practices, and how have you seen the impact?
The most relevant organizations who have displayed the ontological leadership approach are the Tatas, the Infosys, the Mahindras, and now many more companies are joining the approach of ontological leadership because they have realized that the ontological leadership will provide platform for the organizations to converge at all levels and bring more and more synergies within the employees to bring in more and more results for the organization. See, at one level, when Mr. Yogi told that we have the ontological leadership is about leadership, and we need leadership at all levels. But the practical problem is that how do we impart those kind of skills, or how do we help the top management positions to understand their own self in a much more effective manner? For that, the coaching comes in a very big manner as a help for those senior level positions, whereas workshops can be organized for middle and junior level executives and bring about the more and more dimensions of ontological leadership in the entire workforce. And that will help organizations to create the environment in the organization, which is very inclusive, very powerful, where people can create a large amount of trust among the fellow team members. And that helps us reducing many more challenges which we witness nowadays, and which prevents the implementation of many decisions in organizations. If the organization is innovative, inclusive, these problems will be reduced to a large extent.
Yogi, I think we have discussed all the important aspects of this untrue leadership. Would you like to share anything else which is important and we did not touch here?
One thing more, like, see, from the language of the scriptures, they say there are 4 pursuits of human life: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So even if you look at an organization, mostly the organization are artha kama driven, security and profit. So the goal of any organization is artha kama, security and profit. If you keep the ethics, the ethics, whether it's a law or it is a general dharma in perspective, and then develop the human being so that a human being evolves to be a free person, and then the whole perspective becomes very beautiful, and that is what the ontological is. So not having a narrow view of just artha kama, but going towards total freedom, keeping the ethics in perspective. That's one thing. Secondly, the ontological leadership also comes from the abundant mindset. Even though resources are scarce, but don't operate from the scarcity mindset. Come from the abundant mindset. Because creativity has a capability to turn anything into limitless possibilities. So a leader should always have a wide perspective of coming from abundance, not from scarcity.
And Mr. Varma, any of your final comments?
As we move ahead, the focus of ontological leadership exposure should be not only to the organizations or who are working in the organization, it should be also on those people who are on the verge of joining the organization, meaning thereby the students who are in the final years of their graduation, be it engineering, management, or any other graduate. They must be given inputs about ontological leadership, how they can evolve as a better leader and as a better human being, so that they can contribute to whatever organization they join or they start their own business. The ethical leadership and the value-based leadership is going to play a very vital role in times to come and make a more coherent society. And to my mind, exposing the young minds when they are leaving their alma mater for the professional world, that time they should be given such exposures, and that will help in them in becoming a better leader, a better person.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I think being a better human being, that is the most important part. Thank you so much, Yogi Balkrishna ji and Mr. Varma, for joining the conversation and sharing your wonderful thoughts on ontological leadership. Thank you so much.